In the deep void where silence reigned as the eternal sovereign, Captain Lucas Sterling's heart raced. A stark contrast to the stillness outside the GSS Pioneer. A vast tapestry of stars spread before him, each a distant sun bathed in cold light, none yet privy to human eyes nor human folly. Today, that would change. As the edge of the Andromeda Galaxy loomed, pregnant with the unknown and the unexplored, the weight of history pressed against his chest. This was no ordinary mission. It was humanity's audacious brushstroke on the canvas of the cosmos. The Pioneer, a sleek vessel armed with the epitome of Earth's technological prowess, cut through the cosmic sea with purpose. Its destination, a newly discovered wormhole, a mysterious corridor to realms beyond current maps and minds. Sterling stood at the helm, his gaze fixed on the swirling vortex of light and shadow that marked the wormhole's threshold. The promise of what lay beyond filled him with a potent mix of dread and exhilaration. "Status report," Sterling called out, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. The response from his diverse crew, a tapestry of Earth's finest minds and bravest souls, was a chorus of readiness, each station affirming their operational peak. Yet the tension was palpable, a living thing that whispered of both opportunity and peril. The wormhole was a wild card, its stability uncertain and its nature mysterious. Legends of such cosmic phenomena were filled with tales of great discoveries and greater disasters. Sterling knew that this moment could be remembered as a bold leap for mankind or a fall into oblivion. As the Pioneer approached the event horizon, the ship trembled, a gentle reminder of the forces at play. Sterling's hand hovered over the manual override. The trust in his crew was implicit, yet the final decision, the command to proceed, was his alone to bear. "Captain, all systems are green. We are ready for insertion," reported the first officer, her voice a beacon of confidence in the dimly lit bridge. Sterling nodded, taking a deep breath as he turned to meet the eyes of his crew. "This is it," he announced. "Let's find out what's on the other side. Engage the drive on my mark." The countdown began, each number a step closer to the unknown. Sterling felt the weight of his responsibility, as heavy as the stars themselves, but his resolve was firmer than the hull that cradled them. 3, 2, 1, mark. The Pioneer lurched forward, slipping into the wormhole's embrace. A kaleidoscope of colors exploded around them, a tunnel of swirling energies that stretched the fabric of reality itself. Time seemed elastic, stretching and compressing as they shot through the cosmic artery. As they emerged from the other side, the view screen displayed a panorama of uncharted space that took everyone's breath away. Unfamiliar stars greeted them, their alien light casting strange shadows across the bridge. They had arrived, pioneers at the edge of possibility. In that moment, Sterling knew that their lives, their very history, might pivot on what they chose to do next. The unknown beckoned with open arms, and humanity, represented by the crew of the GSS Pioneer, was all too ready to embrace it. The cosmos beyond the wormhole unfolded in splendor, a celestial ballet of luminous orbs and dancing nebulas against the pitch-black stage of space. The crew of the GSS Pioneer, having just emerged into this uncharted territory, gazed out in silent awe. The ship floated on the edge of the Andromeda Galaxy, a frontier not just of space but of human ambition. Captain Lucas Sterling stood transfixed by the view screen, the beauty of the alien starscape reflected in his wide eyes. It was one thing to chase the stars, it was another to finally catch them. "Chart our position," he ordered softly, his voice barely above a whisper, as if afraid to shatter the delicate silence that enveloped them. The navigator, a young officer named Adrian, worked diligently, coordinates flowing across his screen in streams of data. "Sir, we are beyond our mapped universe," he announced with a mixture of trepidation and thrill. "We're truly in uncharted waters, or rather skies." Lucas nodded, his thoughts racing ahead of the ship itself. "Let's keep our wits about us. Begin scanning for any anomalies or signs of life. We don't know what we might find out here." The science officer, Dr. Emily Zhang, adjusted her instruments, casting a wide net into the cosmic ocean. The equipment hummed and beeped, a symphony of technology reaching out into the void. It wasn't long before an anomaly caught her attention. "Captain, I'm picking up unusual bioluminescent signals," she reported, her voice laced with curiosity. "They don't match any known natural phenomena." "Show me," Lucas said, moving to her station. The screen displayed a series of pulsating lights, their patterns rhythmic and seemingly intentional. "Could it be a form of communication?" he mused aloud, more to himself than anyone in particular. Before he could theorize further, the ship's sensors alerted them to incoming objects. The crew tensed, their brief moment of wonder replaced by the sharp focus of survival. "Visuals, now," Lucas commanded. The screen shifted to show a fleet of ships, unlike anything human eyes had ever witnessed. These vessels were alive with light, their structures organic, glowing softly against the backdrop of space. They moved with purpose and grace, converging on the Pioneer's position. "Are they ships? Organisms? Both?" whispered Dr. Zhang, her fascination battling her fear. Lucas felt a chill run down his spine. First contact. The scenario every starship captain pondered in dreams and nightmares. "Hail them," he said, his voice steady, despite the pounding of his heart. The communications officer, Lieutenant Mark Harrison, sent out a greeting in every known language, and several theoretical ones, digital signals spreading out like ripples in a pond. The alien fleet responded not with words, but with an intensification of their luminescent display, brighter, faster. They might be trying to communicate, or it could be a show of strength, Lucas speculated, watching the display evolve. Or both. "Keep all channels open, and record everything." As the alien ships drew nearer, their intentions unclear, Lucas ordered, "Shields up, but hold our weapons. We won't fire unless fired upon. We came here in peace, and I'd like to keep it that way." The bridge crew nodded, each member ready at their post, the tension palpable but controlled. The alien fleet halted at a respectful distance, their lights still playing across the hull of the Pioneer, a silent conversation in a language of light. "Let's figure out what they're saying," Lucas said, turning to Dr. Zhang. "Emily, work with Mark. See if there's a pattern or logic to their signals. Maybe it's not words they use, but light." As the crew set to work, trying to decode the luminous mystery, Lucas watched the alien ships, their glow soft against the stars. This was a moment of truth, not just for him or his crew, but for all of humanity. How they handled these next hours could define the future of interstellar relations. And so, with the unknown vast around them, and a potential new chapter of human history in their hands, they delved into the task with a mix of scientific rigor and diplomatic caution, the weight of their species' potential for greatness, or folly, resting squarely on their shoulders. In the claustrophobic vastness of space, every decision echoed with the potential for historic consequence. The bridge of the GSS Pioneer buzzed with an undercurrent of tense energy as the crew, led by Captain Lucas Sterling, faced the glowing enigma of the Threetsack fleet. The bioluminescent pulses, mesmerizing yet enigmatic, loomed as both a beacon of potential friendship and a harbinger of misunderstanding. "Captain, there's a rhythm to these pulses, Doctor," Emily Zhang announced, her eyes never leaving the screen that displayed the complex series of light patterns emanating from the alien fleet. "It's almost like music, or perhaps a form of language through light." Lucas leaned over her shoulder, watching the lights flicker and dance. "Any luck on translating or mimicking it?" Lieutenant Mark Harrison, focused intensely on his console, shook his head. "It's unlike anything we've encountered. I've tried mimicking the patterns with our own lighting systems, but so far there's no response that makes sense." The alien ships maintained their position, their luminous displays undulating in mesmerizing patterns that captivated and mystified the human observers. The bridge of the Pioneer felt simultaneously on the edge of breakthrough and disaster. Lucas straightened up, turning to his crew. "Keep trying. Any change in their pattern after our attempts to communicate might give us a clue. We need to understand their intentions." The crew nodded, diving back into their tasks with renewed vigor. The stakes were palpable. The void of space around them felt charged with the weight of this encounter. In the silence of the cosmos, the only sounds were the hum of the ship and the soft tapping of fingers on consoles. Suddenly, the pattern of lights changed dramatically. The pulses quickened, their luminosity increasing. Dr. Zhang gasped, her fingers flying over her instruments to record and analyze the new data. They're responding, but how? Is this a greeting, a warning? She muttered, her brow furrowed in concentration. Lucas watched the display, a knot of worry forming in his stomach. Or they could be interpreting our signals as a threat. We need to be careful. Any aggressive move could be disastrous. The possibility of a misstep loomed large over the crew. The communication barrier, coupled with the complete alienness of their counterparts, made each attempt at dialogue a shot in the dark. "Captain, I recommend we cease our light signals for now," suggested Commander Jennifer Doyle, the ship's second-in-command. "Let's observe their patterns further without our interference. Maybe we can find a baseline for their normal state of communication." Lucas nodded in agreement. "Do it. Let's not provoke them inadvertently. Keep monitoring any changes in their approach or intensity of light. We need to gather as much information as possible." The Pioneer's external lights dimmed, and the crew watched anxiously as the three SAC ships continued their luminous display unabated. Hours passed, with both fleets in a standoff of lights, each waiting for the other to reveal their intentions. During this tense vigil, Lucas pondered their next steps. The uncertainty was agonizing, but he knew that patience was their best ally. "Record everything," he repeated firmly. "Every pulse, every pattern. There has to be a key to their language in there somewhere." As the alien light show played out before them, the crew of the Pioneer worked tirelessly, analyzing data, running simulations, and holding on to the hope that understanding and peace were just one breakthrough away. The silent ballet of lights across the void became a test of endurance and intellect, a puzzle set against the backdrop of infinite stars. Lucas's resolve hardened. They would decipher this cosmic language, not just for the sake of survival, but for the promise of what true communication might bring. New knowledge, new allies, and a new chapter in the annals of human exploration. The bridge settled into a routine of watchful waiting, each member keenly aware that the outcome of this encounter could echo through centuries of future interstellar relations. The universe was vast, and within it the GSS Pioneer sat suspended like a solitary mote caught in a beam of sunlight, a beacon of humanity's relentless curiosity. On the bridge, the tension was palpable, a thick, almost tangible mist of anticipation and caution. Captain Lucas Sterling stood at the command center, his gaze locked on the mesmerizing dance of lights displayed by the Thrisac ships. Their brilliance seemed to be speaking in a language made of light, a dialect of pulses and hues, yet undecipherable to human minds. Lucas's thoughts were interrupted by Dr. Emily Zhang's voice, her tone tinged with excitement and urgency. "Captain, I've made some progress. It seems there are repeating sequences, patterns that could potentially represent linguistic structures, if we assume their communication is analogous to human languages." "Good work, Dr. Zhang," Lucas responded, his voice a calm counterpoint to the underlying strain. "Let's try to replicate these sequences. Maybe we can echo back their patterns, show them we are trying to understand, to communicate." Lieutenant Mark Harrison, tasked with the operation of the ship's communication array, nodded in agreement. He adjusted the external lights of the Pioneer, attempting to mimic the alien patterns. The ship itself became a part of the conversation, its hull flickering softly against the backdrop of the void. The response from the Thrisac was almost immediate. The intensity of their lights diminished slightly, a possible sign of acknowledgement. But then, unexpectedly, they resumed their original, more intense pulsation. The shift was abrupt, the lights flaring brighter than before. "Are they agitated? Did we say something wrong?" pondered Commander Jennifer Doyle, her voice reflecting the crew's growing concern. Lucas rubbed his chin. deep in thought. It's hard to say. This could be their way of emphasizing a point. Or it could be a defensive posture. Keep mirroring their signals, Mark. Let's show them consistency. Maybe that will help bridge the gap. Hours turned into a vigil as the Pioneer's crew continued their attempts to converse through luminescence. With each passing moment, the stakes seemed to grow, the barrier of understanding looming as large as the vastness that surrounded them. Meanwhile, Dr. Zhang and her team worked tirelessly, analyzing the data collected from their light-based exchanges. There's a rhythm to this that's almost musical, she noted. I'm starting to think that these aren't just words or phrases. We might be dealing with something more foundational, emotional states, or even cultural expressions. This revelation brought a new dimension to their task. If the Thrixak communicated emotions or artistic expressions through light, then every incorrect imitation might be sending unintended messages. The complexity of their task was daunting. Lucas convened a meeting with his senior staff to discuss their findings and plan their next move. We may be misinterpreting their signals as mere data, he suggested. Perhaps what we need is not a translator, but rather an artist, someone who can interpret these patterns not just as language, but as something more intrinsic. The suggestion was met with nods of agreement. The Pioneer didn't have an artist per se, but they had creative minds, scientists, engineers and officers who could think outside the conventional parameters. We'll need to be careful, Lucas continued, his voice steady despite the uncertainty. Our next responses should be conservative, measured. Let's focus on simple, clear patterns. Avoid anything that could be construed as aggressive. Back on the bridge, the team adjusted their strategy. They simplified their light patterns, reducing the complexity of their responses to focus on basic repetitive sequences that might convey a non-threatening stance. As the night cycle began on the Pioneer, the bridge settled into a routine of cautious communication and vigilant observation. The Thrixak's ships continued to pulse with a brilliance that was both beautiful and enigmatic, a cosmic dance on the edge of understanding. In the quiet moments of watch, Lucas pondered the enormity of their undertaking. They were not just explorers. They were pioneers on the frontier of cosmic diplomacy, threading their way through a tapestry woven with light and shadow. The challenge was immense, but the potential for a breakthrough, a true connection, offered a hope as bright as the stars themselves. Under the distant stars of an alien galaxy, the GSS Pioneer floated like a lone sentinel at the frontier of human understanding. Inside, the mood was one of intense focus as Captain Lucas Sterling and his crew navigated the complexities of interstellar diplomacy with the mysterious Thrixak. The stakes were clear: succeed in fostering understanding, or risk a potentially catastrophic misunderstanding. In the science lab, Dr. Emily Zhang stood over a large digital display, her eyes tracing the patterns of light that they had recorded from the Thrixak ships. Around her, a team of linguists, cryptographers, and communication specialists worked in shifts, analyzing every flicker and flash for meaning. Look here. Emily pointed to a sequence that seemed particularly vibrant. This pattern repeats every time we initiate contact. It's possibly a greeting or an acknowledgement. Let's mirror this specifically. Back on the bridge, Lucas received the update with cautious optimism. All right, let's respond in kind, but let's also add a simple variation to show our intent to communicate further. Nothing too complex, just a small deviation to see how they react. Lieutenant Mark Harrison adjusted the ship's external lighting system, sending out a pulse that mimicked the Thrixak's apparent greeting, while incorporating a subtle rhythmic variation. All eyes were fixed on the main screen, watching for any change in the alien fleet's behavior. The response was almost immediate. The Thrixak ships, a flotilla of glowing orbs, pulsated slowly in what appeared to be a deliberate pattern. Their lights dimmed, and then brightened in a sequence that was undeniably beautiful, almost poetic. It's like they're trying to sing with us, murmured one of the cryptographers, a note of wonder in his voice. Lucas nodded, feeling a stir of excitement. Keep the dialogue going. Follow their lead, but maintain our basic rhythmic signature. It's a dance of lights across the void. As hours turned into shifts, the Pioneer and the Thrigzak ships continued their luminous exchange. With each cycle, the sequences grew more intricate, yet the crew began to discern a rhythm and a structure to the communication. It was as if two different species, separated by the vastness of space and the chasms of biological and cultural evolution, were finding a common language in the purest form of expression. Encouraged by these developments, Lucas ordered a simultaneous recording of all interactions, directing the data to be analyzed in real time. If we can find the patterns, if we can truly understand the cadence of their communication, we might just make history today, he declared to his team. In the midst of this breakthrough, a new challenge emerged. The Thrigzak suddenly altered the tempo of their light pulses, introducing a series of rapid flashes that the crew had not seen before. The bridge was tense as everyone braced for a possible escalation. Dr. Zhang, analyzing the new data, quickly offered an interpretation. "I don't think this is aggression," she explained. "It's complexity. Maybe it's an attempt to convey more nuanced information, perhaps even emotions or abstract concepts." Lucas considered her words. "Let's respond with an equivalent increase in complexity, but keep our fundamental pattern consistent. Show them we're eager to understand, to engage at a deeper level." As the Pioneer mimicked the new Thrigzak sequence, adding layers to their own light display, something remarkable happened. The Thrigzak ships began to approach slowly, their lights synchronizing more closely with the human patterns. It was a ballet of bioluminescence, a dance of diplomacy conducted in the silent language of light. For the first time since the encounter began, there was a palpable sense of connection, a bridge being formed across the cosmic divide. The crew of the Pioneer watched in awe, as the dance of light evolved into a mutual expression of curiosity and perhaps the beginnings of trust. Lucas stood at the forefront, a captain not just of a ship but of a moment in history, guiding humanity into a new era of interstellar relations. This dance of lights, simple yet profound, was their first true conversation with another species, a conversation not of words, but of shared beauty and mutual respect. Aboard the GSS Pioneer, the excitement was palpable as the crew stood on the brink of a true interspecies dialogue. The bridge, usually a hub of controlled activity, now resembled a concert hall, echoing with the silent music of light from the Thrigzak ships. Captain Lucas Sterling watched the display with a mixture of awe and intense concentration, aware that each pulse of light was a tentative step towards understanding. "Captain, the patterns are evolving. They're becoming more intricate and deliberate," Dr. Emily Zhang reported, her voice tinged with excitement. She adjusted the display to highlight the synchronization between the Pioneer's responses and the Thrigzak's signals. "It seems we are now engaging in a full-fledged exchange. I believe we might be sharing not just greetings but possibly ideas, emotions." Lucas nodded, feeling the weight of each decision. "Let's advance the conversation, continue mirroring their complexity, but let's introduce a variation that suggests curiosity. We need to show that we want to learn, to understand." The communications specialist, Lieutenant Mark Harrison, carefully adjusted the ship's external lights to emit a pattern that slowly evolved from simple rhythmic pulses to a more complex array of flashes that mimicked the Thrigzak's latest sequences. This subtle change was meant to symbolize an inquisitive nature, a willingness to delve deeper into the language of light that they were co-creating. As the Pioneer sent out its luminescent message, the Thrigzak fleet responded with a flurry of activity. Their ships, which had maintained a cautious distance, now drifted closer, their lights brightening and then dimming in a mesmerizing display. It was as if the human crew were being invited into a more profound communal space, transcending the physical distance between them. On the bridge, Commander Jennifer Doyle observed the closing gap with a measured calm. "It looks like our message of curiosity was well received. They seem to be inviting us to engage more deeply." Lucas felt a thrill of discovery, mixed with a sobering sense of responsibility. Keep our defensive systems on standby, but do not initiate any aggressive protocols. We are here to build bridges, not barriers, he instructed, his gaze never leaving the view screen. The interaction continued, growing more complex with each exchange. The Pioneer's crew, led by Dr. Zhang, began to catalog the types of patterns that elicited the most significant responses from the Threeksak. They noted that certain frequencies and rhythms seemed to convey specific emotions or reactions. "Notice this, Captain," Dr. Zhang pointed out as a particularly vibrant series of pulses appeared on the screen. "Whenever we use this sequence, the Threeksak respond with what could be interpreted as enthusiasm or eagerness. It's possible that we are touching on concepts or emotions that are fundamental to their way of communication." Encouraged by these insights, Lucas made a decisive call. "Let's focus on these patterns. Enhance our sequences to reflect this enthusiasm. We need to show that we are not just capable of listening, but also of sharing and participating in this dialogue." As the night shift came on, the bridge was alight with activity. The crew worked tirelessly, adjusting and readapting their communication strategies based on the ongoing analysis. Each officer, regardless of their specific duty, was united by a common purpose to breach the silent divide of space with the light of understanding. Hours passed into the deep space night, and the Pioneer and the Threeksak fleet continued their ballet of bioluminescent communication. For the first time since their arrival in this unknown region of space, the human crew felt a genuine connection with another intelligent species, a bond forming not through words but through the universal language of light and expression. In the darkness of space, a dialogue of light spun a fragile thread of understanding, weaving a tentative tapestry of interspecies rapport that promised to redefine humanity's place in the cosmos. Lucas watched, knowing that each pulse of light was a word in a conversation that could change the galaxy. As dawn broke over the distant curve of Earth's horizon, viewed from the porthole of the GSS Pioneer, a new day was also dawning in the annals of interstellar diplomacy. The previous night's continuous and intricate dialogue of lights with the Threeksak had culminated in an unprecedented level of mutual understanding. Now, Captain Lucas Sterling prepared to take the next crucial step: formal negotiations. The bridge had been reconfigured overnight to serve not just as the nerve center of the ship but as a venue for this historic meeting. Technicians had set up an advanced communication interface that could translate the rhythmic light pulses into a visual display, facilitating real-time dialogue. Dr. Emily Zhang oversaw the calibration, ensuring that the translation protocols they had developed were as accurate as possible. "Captain, we're ready," she announced, giving a nod towards the main screen which now pulsed softly in standby mode, awaiting the next series of communications. Lucas took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "Open the channel, Lieutenant Harrison. Let's begin." The screen flickered to life, and the bridge dimmed automatically, allowing the vibrant patterns of light from the Threeksak ships to fill the room. Lucas began with the sequence that had been identified as a greeting, now familiar and almost comforting in its repetition. The response from the Threeksak was immediate and enthusiastic, their patterns more intricate and rapid, signaling what the crew interpreted as eagerness to proceed. Lucas introduced a new sequence, designed during the night to propose a formal dialogue aimed at establishing a treaty of peace and mutual exploration. As the sequence played out, the Threeksak's lights dimmed slightly, then resumed with a pattern that was slow and deliberate, pulsing in what had been identified as a thoughtful manner. It was clear they were considering the proposal, analyzing each symbol of light with care. The negotiation was a dance of diplomacy, unlike any other. Each pulse of light was a word, each pattern a sentence, building towards a comprehensive agreement. The Pioneer's crew, along with Dr. Zhang's team, worked tirelessly to interpret and respond appropriately, ensuring that each message conveyed their intentions clearly and respectfully. After several hours of back-and-forth communication, a breakthrough came. The 3XAC transmitted a long, complex sequence that, when translated, outlined their agreement to the terms discussed: peace between their species, a commitment to non-aggression, and a mutual desire to explore and learn from each other's cultures and technologies. Lucas, feeling a surge of relief and triumph, replied with a confirmation sequence, which included the human equivalent of a handshake, an extended pattern that suggested a binding agreement and friendship. The 3XAC responded in kind, their lights bright and rhythmic, mirroring the human gesture. As the accord was reached, cheers broke out across the bridge. The crew embraced, celebrating not just the success of their mission but the promise of a new era in human-alien relations. Lucas felt a profound sense of accomplishment. They had not only avoided potential conflict, but had opened the door to a future rich with possibilities. In the following days, a formal treaty was drafted, detailing the specifics of the newfound alliance between humanity and the 3XAC. It was transmitted via light patterns, and for the first time, a joint press release was prepared to announce this monumental achievement to the galaxy at large. As Lucas stood before his crew, preparing to address them, he reflected on the journey they had undertaken together. "Today, we have not just witnessed history, we have made it," he began, his voice steady and proud. "In reaching out with open hearts and minds, we have turned potential adversaries into allies. Let us move forward with the same courage and curiosity as we continue to explore the stars." As the radiant glow of the 3XAC ships faded into the distance, the crew of the GSS Pioneer prepared for the journey back to Earth, their hearts and minds full of hope and triumph. Captain Lucas Sterling stood at the helm, his gaze fixed on the star-studded expanse ahead, contemplating the new horizon that had unfolded for humanity and their new allies. Throughout the ship, preparations were underway for their arrival back home. The historic accord that had been reached was not just a diplomatic victory, but a beacon of what could be achieved when different beings chose dialogue over conflict. Lucas planned to share this powerful message with the world, emphasizing the unity and understanding that now linked humans with the 3XAC. As Earth came into view, a blue jewel cradled by the void, anticipation grew among the crew. They were returning not as the explorers who had left months ago, but as ambassadors of a wider, more inclusive universe. Messages from world leaders, scientists, and ordinary citizens flooded in, expressing excitement and curiosity about the new interstellar relationship. Upon entering Earth's orbit, the Pioneer was greeted by a flotilla of welcome ships from various nations, a symbolic gesture of Earth's united front in receiving their new friends. News networks broadcasted the event live, capturing the historic moment when humans and 3XAC would meet not in the void of space but against the backdrop of humanity's cradle. Captain Sterling and his senior officers, dressed in their ceremonial uniforms, gathered in the docking bay to welcome the 3XAC delegation. The air was thick with a mix of nerves and excitement as the bay doors opened to reveal the 3XAC envoys. Their luminescent forms shimmered with gentle pulses of light, each flash now familiar and friendly to the human observers. Lucas stepped forward, his voice broadcasted not only across the bay, but to the billions watching on Earth. "Today we stand on the threshold of a new chapter in our history. The universe has grown larger, not in distance but in fellowship. We welcome our friends, the 3XAC, not as strangers but as partners in the great adventure of discovery." The 3XAC leader, a radiant figure named Xylix, responded with a series of soft, harmonious light patterns that Dr. Emily Zhang, standing by Lucas's side, translated in real time. "We are honored to join you, people of Earth, in peace and mutual curiosity. Together let us illuminate the dark spaces between stars." The ceremony continued with the signing of the treaty, documented by both human and 3XAC technologies, a blend of ink on paper and light patterns, etched into crystals, a symbolic fusion of their cultures. In the days that followed, the 3XAC joined human scientists, leaders and citizens in forums, discussions and celebrations. Ideas and knowledge were exchanged, from art and culture to technology and philosophy. The three SAC were particularly fascinated by Earth's diverse ecosystems, while humans marveled at the advanced bioluminescent technology of their new friends, sparking collaborative projects and innovations. As Captain Sterling watched Earth and its people embrace this new galactic partnership, he felt a profound sense of fulfillment. The Pioneer's mission had shown that fear of the unknown could be conquered through courage and communication, paving the way for a future where humanity could look to the stars not as distant, cold lights, but as homes to potential friends and allies. Standing on the viewing deck of the space station, Lucas looked out at the stars, each one a promise of new stories, new friendships. To the stars, he whispered, "In peace."